Hello, welcome to this episode of 49 Faithfully. I'm your host, Miriah, and of course, as always, I'm joined by my co host, TL. What's up, TL?
Oh, nothing much. It's been a good day for me. I
Yeah,
mean, had an early day at work, ran some errands, got some stuff done at the post office. It was nice. It was cool.
good,
Yep.
good. Um, yeah, it's a good week for me. Have a few days off from work this week, so that's good.
Uh,
It's always good to have extra days off.
Absolutely. And I'm gonna get this out the way. And I don't care if it pisses you off or not, Mariah. Tomorrow's Mariah's birthday, everybody. So wish her happy birthday in the chat.
Thank you.
Hmm.
And while we're on that subject, I want to say a little shout out to my wife. It was our anniversary on the 29th, so happy anniversary. 5 years. And so, yeah,
Happy
normally we're out of
anniversary.
town right now, but we're not
Hmm.
going out of town this week because we're going to the LA game. So we're going to
Nice.
celebrate our anniversary and birthday then. So I think we'll just do dinner and maybe a movie or something tomorrow.
Yeah, something small. I took my kids to see the Ghostbusters movie. It was actually not that bad. It was
Yeah.
actually pretty entertaining. Yeah, it was cool. Yeah. I've been going to the movies a lot. It's funny. My kids are like, Dad, you always take us to the movies. I'm like, well, I go, there's been some good stuff on for you guys. Like Clifford, I took them to see that. I took them to see that Shang-Chi about a little over a
Uh-huh.
month ago. And that was a good movie. I don't know if you saw it, but
No, not yet.
that's good. And then that Far From Home 2 is coming in a couple of weeks. So, yeah.
Has the movie theater been busy or is it still pretty empty or what's it been like?
Um, well, here in Henderson, right, though, I don't know if you've been over here. So there's this movie theater that like nobody knows about. So it's awesome. Like they make you reserve seats just in case. But like I went there and there was maybe 20 people in the theater total.
Wow,
So yeah, it's
that's
it's
good.
not bad. Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't been back to the movies since everything, so
Oh, okay.
since like the close down, shut down and everything. We
Hmm.
just been chilling at home watching movies
Yeah.
instead.
Cool.
um, Real quick before we get started, I want to say thank you and a shout out to Fourth and Gold podcast, Javi and Fern, and Residency for our hats that we won.
Got mine on.
I got mine over here. Appreciate you guys. Make sure you guys follow them if you're not already. Um, and then also, before we jump into the Vikings game, did you happen to catch the Frank Gore interview that I think came out today?
No, it came out today. No. What was he talking about?
So he was talking about like they hadn't, pretty much asked him what he's doing, and he's getting ready for the fight, which I believe is the 18th,
Yeah,
December
with Darren
18th.
Williams.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then they asked him like, like what's your 5-year plan? Are you planning on playing? Are you planning on coaching? Whatever. And he said that his 5-year plan is to be working in the front office with the 49ers,
Oh.
and that yeah, he plans on that happening since he named like I'm close with the owners, I'm close with Prague, down the list he went. So
Oh.
that seems like that must be something that's in the works. So
I
that's
would love
pretty
that.
awesome. Yeah, me
Yeah.
too. Like that's my favorite 49ers player of all time.
Oh,
um
really? Huh.
yeah, when I first like started really getting into the 49ers and watching, my family were Eagles fans. They're from Philly, so like I watched football with them, but I didn't like know too much like in depth about football,
Yeah.
just watched it whatever. So once became a fan of 49ers and started watching them, it was around that time that Frank was playing for us. So that just the way, the style that he runs with, the
Yeah.
him, like he's just a beast. That's like,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, I even had a fish named after him. His name was Frank in the Tank. I cried when he passed away. My little Frank fish, like the only fish I'll ever cry because it was named Frank.
For sure. Yeah, that's funny.
So yeah, shout out to him. I think that'll be awesome for him to come back and
Yeah, for
just
sure.
be. He's pretty much I think anybody around our age and younger that since he had been on the 49ers is he's a fan favorite. So
Yeah.
like that'll be cool. Um, Also, another thing, Pro Bowl votes. Trent Williams is 8th right now. Faithful, you got to do a better job.
Yeah,
8th,
absolutely.
like there's tackles ahead of him that I don't even know existed.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Like this voting, the Pro Bowl stuff, it's crazy.
Yeah, we got to do better. And Faithful, we need to do better getting Mitch Wisnowski in there too. The man has been so overlooked. Like every time I see these tweets, people saying vote to the Pro Bowl, he's never on it. Like,
Yeah.
come on, Faithful. Like he's been punting his tail off this year, so you need to give him his props and start putting him in for votes too.
Mitch and Tabor Pepper. I see them listing, other 49ers on there like that's like seriously, like come on.
Like I mean, I'm gonna be real with everybody. I love me some George Kittle. This moment, he's not a Pro Bowler. He hasn't been playing at a Pro Bowl level. So I'm sorry.
Right.
Like
We
you
can't
need to,
just vote for every 49er just because they're 49ers. Like,
yeah, like yeah,
and
you
then
got
the
to be
ones that deserve to
realistic.
be in there, we're not even spending the time to vote for.
Exactly.
It's crazy. So the 49ers handled their business this week, well, this past week, against the Vikings 26-34. Um, yeah, that game kind of started off a little crazy. Um, we lost some players in this game. And yeah, there's just some weird stuff altogether. Like the Vikings lining up all crazy. Like just really weird stuff happened during this game.
Yeah.
But the good thing is we've won 3 in a row. We've now won 2 at home recently, so that's great for the 49ers and for the faithful that go and watch those games. Your feelings of this game, how it went, losing Debo, Fred, all that.
Well, I will start off by saying this, and I think I mentioned it last week too. I don't know what conversations were had from John York, but him coming into town did something to this team. Like it's night and day. Like I don't know what the conversation was. I don't know what he told Kyle and John, but it's been like I don't know. Ever since that Arizona game, he was like, "Nah, I'm gonna fly in. I'm gonna fly from Youngstown to see what's going on with this team because my son ain't taking care of business."
Right?
Yeah, seriously, like Jed, like I don't know what you do need to take some notes from your dad or something, but yeah, he comes in and now this team is 3-0 since he's came into town to visit him and talk to him at the practice field. Um, yeah, to start off, yeah, I think you're right. And I mean, I don't know what Kyle's plan was to start the game. Obviously, it didn't work. The first 4 drives, he tried to put it in Jimmy's hands. He tried to say, "Hey, go win me this game," because the Vikings defense isn't that good. I mean,
Right.
they can score points. They have a few players on there that are Pro Bowlers and are good, but as a whole, they're not that good. So he put the ball in Jimmy's hands. He went 3 for 8 with an interception and a few. You spelled. I'm not from Iran, Melissa. I'm not Teran. I'm just playing. Just giving you a hard time, Melissa.
Teran.
Tehran, Iran. But yeah, it's okay, Melissa. Everybody gets my name wrong. But anyway, yeah, I see. I feel like he tried to like give Jimmy some confidence a little bit. That's from what I see. Obviously I don't know, but I mean he let him throw the ball a little bit. A lot of the balls were high. He threw that interception to Harrison Smith. I'm like, oh my god, I thought it was going to be a bad game. I thought,
Yeah.
oh my god, okay, this is the quarterback play we're going to get today. And then it's funny because Kyle goes over there, he chews him out, and all of a sudden Jimmy plays better. And I find that comical because I feel like every time Jimmy is either yelled at or threatened for his job, he gets it together. Just like that
Right.
Chicago Bears game when he was like, "This is simple stuff. Can you handle it?" And then all of a sudden he goes out there and takes care of business. So whatever it takes, I guess. But somebody that long, I don't think you should need some kind of motivation, but it is what it is. But yeah, so Kyle got in his bag and started you know, calling the game that he has been the prior weeks. And I hope he continues that. I just hope he doesn't get cute and stuff like that. But yeah, I like the way the game played out. I mean, defense, some shaky moments, but for the most part, played pretty well. We had that blunder by the special teams where that guy just ran free. Like he didn't even get touched when he ran back that kickoff return.
Yeah.
I feel like, me being a 42-year-old man, and I feel like, man, like I could have probably ran that back because he was untouched. But
Yeah.
yeah, like I was just like, oh my God, like it was like he made it look too easy.
Right.
So I feel like, and then when we had the injuries, Fred Warner went down late, and so did Debo. So that was kind of a blessing, even though it sucks they got hurt. But I'm glad it wasn't the first quarter, and it happened in the fourth quarter. You know what I mean? So that I feel like that helped us out. Yeah, I mean, I just feel like Kyle has found a recipe for success. It's working. Jimmy's being efficient. So I think if we just keep it the way it is, I like our chances. So that's what my opinions were about this game. And I want to give a shout out to Flanagan Foles, because he came in after Fred got injured, and I feel like he didn't miss a beat. So I had to give him his props on that.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. We'll get into it more once we change over to the Seahawks, but the linebacking lineup this week is going to be a little interesting. Um, and I think Flanagan Foles will have a big part of that. So interested to see how that goes. Kittle had a 13-yard catch that put him at 4,004 yards for his career. So shout out to him for that. That's awesome. With Fred getting hurt, this does put him at risk for missing the first game of his career since he's been on the team in 2018.
Yep, 2018.
I was listening to the pressers today, and it seems it's a lot more likely that he'll play than how it was sounding at the end of the week, and after the game Sunday and at the beginning of the week. They even asked like the players, like, do you think that he'll play? And they're just like, we wouldn't count him out. And I guess, they said that he was on the field today, during practice, checking, I guess, to see, with the trainers, how much he could go or whatever. So we'll see, I guess, how that works. But yeah, I mean, I was, of course, we come out, Jimmy throws that interception. Like you said, he was throwing high, which I think is funny that, all the Jimmy fans, they all wanted to talk about Trey. That was the first thing. He throws high, he throws high, he throws high. And it seems like that's all we've seen Jimmy do all season is throw high.
100%.
It's like the guy that throws the most hospital balls out of anybody. And they say that Trey throws high.
Oh, shout out to Peachy real quick. She said on the last episode that Jimmy's gonna become friends with a linebacker at some. It wasn't a linebacker; it was a safety, but he did become friends with somebody on that defense. So, yeah. And another thing before you go on too, you mentioned the Kittle thing going over 4,000. I want to also give a shout out to Debo for going over 1,000.
Yeah.
That was huge. It sucked though. He got that one catch and then he got over 1,000 and then he gets hurt. But yeah, shout out to Debo for sure. I mean, this dude's just playing out of his mind this year. So
yeah, I mean, Debo's playing lights out, and he's pretty much carried this team through the wins, right? Him and Elijah Mitchell has truly stepped up this season as a rookie and put a lot on his shoulders and ran it. It's going to be interesting to see what the plan will be, because we know Debo's out for sure this week.
Yeah.
If they're going to lean on Ayuk or, how that's going to go.
Yeah. Let me ask you something. What's your thoughts on Fred Warner? Do you think, I know they said they want him to play, which I understand is crucial as the Seahawks, but you think it's going to be like another Elijah Mitchell situation where he was going to play against, was it Jacksonville, I think it was, and they were like, nah, and then he was like a scratch at the end, like, nah, we're just not going to play him. Do you feel like we should do that with Fred too? Like if it's an injury where it could possibly get worse?
I do think that it's going to come down to, a game time decision. And it seems like they're just going to test it each day and see how it does. The thing is, it's kind of tricky this week because Greenlaw got re-injured. So it's most likely he's going to be out, so right now, and then Harris is in concussion protocol. So So right now our only healthy linebackers are Aziz and Flanagan Foles. So it's
Yeah.
like, like, are they going to make him play because we have nobody else to play?
Well, you know what?
Is it going to
Hopefully,
be a thing like,
yeah. You know what I think they should do as well? Like, it don't have to be all game, but there should be certain package where Hafunga can go down and play linebacker too, because he kind of has that hybrid type style of play, like a Marcel Harris. So instead of playing Warner, I would just sit there and be like, you know what? Let's put Hafunga back there and just let him go down there. Probably not on passing downs, but like on run plays and stuff like that. You know, that's my opinion. Because yeah, you're right. We're at linebacker right now.
that's my thing too, is that why Fred is, going to try to rush himself back because he knows they're short. He knows that they're relying on him, that he's never missed a game, that, like, is he going to rush himself back and possibly re-injure it, make it worse, like,
Yeah.
is that's where, like, I don't know. Is it worth it to, but then it's like, well, if we have nobody there, what are they supposed to do?
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's a little tricky situation there.
Yeah.
Um, I, I think if, like you said, if they can have somebody else cover, bring them down into those packages, I personally wouldn't have him play. But
Yeah.
I guess, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
Um, Another person, speaking of injuries, that I read a little on today was D Ford. They did um, open his practice window, remember last week, and they have till December 12th to activate him to the active roster. However, he hasn't practiced at all this week.
What? D Ford is hurt? No way.
So, I don't know how, like, why they would even try to bring him back if he's not even healthy enough to even practice. Like,
You know what?
it's weird.
At this point, if he's giving, if you see 80% from this guy, just put him out there, because if he gets hurt again, I'm not, and I'm not a douche. I'm not going to sit there and be like, oh, just go ahead and hurt him. But if he can give you any kind of snaps, whether it's only on third downs, whatever the case may be, give him some snaps. At this point, you need to utilize him. I mean, I hate to say it, but he's stealing money. I mean, he's
Yeah.
collecting a paycheck and he's always on the sideline. So it's like, it's one of those things. Like, it's like, man, like, I don't know what it is. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and say like he's soft or anything like that, 'cause I don't think he is. But it's one of those things where it's like, dude, like you have to get it together at some point. Like we're paying you good money, and what sucks is we looked at his cap hit for next year, and it's 14 million. So he'll probably be here next year because they don't want to eat that cap. And what are you paying him for?
Yeah.
Like it's just one of those things where it's like, you know what? If you can play, like you don't have to, we'll give you 20% of snaps, whatever the case. Even if it's like you play him a half, hey, we'll play you the first half, to get some pressure on Russell Wilson, just to see what he can do. But this is getting ridiculous, and it sucks because I don't, there's a lot of players on this team who take flack for getting injured. Like, oh, um, what do they say? Like Kittle's always hurt, and like he gets so much flack because he's a fan favorite or whatever the case may be. When it comes to D Ford, a lot of people are silent about him just because, well, one, because you hardly ever see him on the field anyway. Since 2019, he
Right.
hasn't played much, but it's like I feel like he gets a pass. Like nobody really talks about him. Like this dude, he needs to play. And if I'm D'Amico Ryans and Chris Kosaric, I'm like, um. I'm like, can you go today? Yeah, I have some tightness, but I can get okay, cool. If you can go just a little bit for us, I'm putting you out there because at some point you need to earn your money. You need to help this team out in some way. So yeah, it's getting frustrating with that guy, and it sucks because like I said, next year, $14 million cap hit, probably be here again, and who knows how healthy he's going to be because he's just getting older. So
Right.
I don't know. It's trash in my opinion. I don't like what's going on with that situation.
And I wonder, and it's something we're probably never going to know, right? If
Mhm.
if it's him, like you said, that's, not soft, but that's, not wanting to go out there because he has pain or whatnot, or is it the doctors and the team that's holding him back? Like,
Mhm.
a back injury I live through every single day of my life, and I sometimes can't even go to my sit down job, let alone get out there and play football. So, I don't know how he would ever be able to play football. I've never known how he's ever going to get back out there on the field and play a whole season of football. But like you said, the cap hit is crazy. But I mean, at what point do we just cut him and take the cap hit
Take
loss
the
instead of
loss.
him taking a roster spot and him.
Eating up
It's like,
cap space, so
yeah,
we can't sign other free agents. I mean, hopefully, it comes to a point where they just sit him down and say, "Look, man, like we're gonna have to put your money into bonuses or something, so we can say someone on the cap, like comes to it, or like if you play 10 games, like don't take away his money, make him earn it, basically. So like you're a $14 million cap hit. We're gonna take your salary because I think he only has one. I think next year is his last year, or maybe he has 2 years. I don't know, but it needs to be a point where like, look, let's give you a pay cut. You're making 15, 16 million a year, but we're going to go down to like maybe 8, whatever the case may be. You can earn the rest of the 8 million by playing 10 games. 2 million if you play 10 more games. If you get 6 or more snaps, we'll give you another million, something like that, because he's hindering this team right now.
yep, I completely agree. But you would think that he's not going to go for something like that if he knows that he can't
Mhm.
play or whatever the
Yeah,
case
no,
is.
yeah, you're right. Well, then it sucks because it's like that's why I gave respect to Sherman when he came here. He didn't have a fat contract, but he made all his up in incentives. He banked on himself.
Yep.
Oh, if I play a full 16, because he was coming off an injury too, but he was like, if I play 16 games, and he played pretty much the whole season. You know what I mean? Like when he came to us his first year, oh, I'm gonna make this, I'm gonna make that. Like he banked on himself, and I can respect a player like that. If you feel like you're that good, then bank on yourself. But like you
Yeah.
said, there's just some people who are just like, well, I'm going to make a 15, $16 million whether I play a full 16 games or not. So why would I do that to my contract? So, you know,
Right. Another injury news is Hasty. It looks like he should be back this week. He's practicing from all reports that I've seen. It looks like they're planning on him being back. So, I mean, that'll help because another injury that we didn't talk about was Trey Sermon went down. I didn't ever see what he ended up. Oh yeah,
it was
his
ankle,
sprain, right?
ankle. Yep.
He's on the IR. Yeah.
Hmm.
So getting Hasty back is definitely needed.
It's huge. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, with talking about running backs, since my game ball is going to one, let's do our game balls for this week.
Okay. I'm gonna for defense. I'm gonna give it to the unsung hero. I'm gonna give it to Jimmy Ward. He wasn't. He is so undervalued. Like he's everywhere.
Yeah.
Like I love that he doesn't get beat deep. Like I mean, I think he was his fault that Adam Thielen touched on that first one. Like he over pursued a little bit on it. So I get, but at the same time, like if you after that play happened, like he was everywhere. Like he didn't get beat deep anymore. He was in on the running plays. Like he was just awesome. So I give it to him. I give it to that guy. And then offense, even though this is the first time he's had a bad game all year, like pretty much his career since he's been on the Niners. I'm gonna give it to Laken Tomlinson. He had 2 holds, but at the same time, he's the only 49er on the offensive line who hasn't given up a sack all season. As a matter of fact, I read a report where he hasn't given up a sack since week 4 of 2020. He hasn't given up a sack
Wow.
in over a year. Yeah, in over a year. So he's like the unsung hero on that offensive line. He doesn't get talked about. He's like the least talked about offensive lineman, which is a good thing because that means
Right.
he's doing his job. But yeah, he had those 2 penalties, which I was shocked because we were just talking about how good he is. And I mean, yeah, but if you give me 1 or 2 bad games a season, I'm okay with that. You know what I mean? And he gave us a bad game, but we still won. But yeah, for him to not allow not one sack all year, I'm gonna give
Yeah.
kudos to him. He gets my game ball.
Yeah, and the thing with the penalties, like it's hard for me to hold some penalties against the players, especially with the way officiating is. You could have an officiating crew that's going to call something, and then you could have a different complete crew that's not going to call it. So they're so up and down with the calls and holding, and like we see, Bosa get held every single game, every single play. Those people don't get called, you know?
Mhm.
And it's like, finally, he did get some calls, but it's like, there's a lot. It's the same with corners and pass interference. And, the defense is already at such a disadvantage these days. And then with
Mhm.
that, and never knowing some of the calls are such BS that they call. It's like that's not pass interference. If anything, it should be offensive pass interference,
Sure.
which we never see get called. And it's like, so it's hard for me to hold things like that against players, and especially somebody like Lakin, like you said, who
Exactly.
is always solid, and he doesn't get enough credit. He's been solid for us, and that was a great pickup,
Oh,
that
absolutely.
that
Yeah.
they got with
One of the
getting him.
most underrated trades that John
Yep.
Lynch made that we don't talk about. That's probably, I mean, other than Trent Williams, obviously, but Lakin Tomlinson was an amazing trade.
Yep. All right. So defense, I'm going Aziz. He had an interception. He had a fumble recovery. He stepped in after Fred went out and, fit right into that role. He's just been he's not even he's been better than solid all year long.
Mhm.
Like he's been hella good. Like you've seen such like a step up, like a huge leap up, in Aziz's
Mhm.
play this year, and it's really good to see. And I think we've had such good luck, obviously, personal issues aside for some players, but with linebackers, like they've been this coaching staff has been done really well with
Yeah.
linebackers.
I give all the credit to that for D'Amico Ryans.
Yep.
D'Amico Ryans was a linebackers coach. As a former linebacker, a Pro Bowl linebacker, he's coached these guys up very well. He's coached up Fred Warner. I mean, you look at Flanagan Foles and Aziz, they're both undrafted,
Right.
and yet they're out there doing their thing. And then you got a Greenlaw, the fifth round pick, who's been stellar when he's played. So yeah, you got to give a lot of credit to D'Amico Ryans for developing these linebackers. So
And plus
so
that
that's
guy that
what,
we
yeah,
traded right at the beginning of the
yeah,
season, I
yeah.
think he was a
Jonas
late round
Griffith.
or
Yeah, no, he
undrafted or
was, I think,
whatever,
yeah, he was
undrafted.
undrafted late round two, and then he was playing so well that Vic Fangio called us and was like, "Hey, I'll give you a sixth round pick for him or fifth round pick, whatever it was for him." So we're getting value from a linebacker we didn't even draft and getting the pick out of it. So
Right.
yeah, so I give D'Amico all the credit on that one. So yeah, I just and that's why too was like it's going to be hard because Aziz he wasn't drafted and neither was Flanagan Fowles. And somebody in the chat, correct me if I'm wrong, I think they both came in the same year. I think they both came in both the same year, undrafted free agents. And because they were undrafted, I think I'm gonna say TL's answer say Tomlinson. But yeah, so yeah, you look at it and it's like we're probably going to lose another good linebacker. We're probably going to lose an Aziz because he's going to want to get paid if he's a free agent. Flanagan Falls. Then you got to pay Drake Greenlaw when his contract comes up. So we're going to have some tough decisions to make. But yeah, I mean, that's a position I trust the most because I feel like 49ers, just in their history in general, have always had good linebackers. So yeah, so if we have to get rid of one, it's gonna suck. But yeah, I do have confidence that we can replenish that position. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I still think with the way that Aziz is playing this year, it's going to be really hard to just let him walk.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially, it's so hard for Kyle to get up there and like compliment his players and say good things without saying, but he could play better. He could do this, and for him to actually get up there and say that Aziz has been one of the best players on the team this year and, just compliment after compliment, it's, I'd be surprised if we end up letting him go.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's gonna come down to a money thing,
Yeah.
and and I think I just hope he doesn't get lowballed. I think he would take a hometown discount just because they're the team that took a chance on him undrafted and has stuck with him. It looks like he's having fun out there. It looks
Yeah.
like he has confidence and with this scheme. But then you got somebody like the Jets that might creep in. Hey, I have more money than you, so I'm gonna take him. So it's gonna be interesting. So yeah, I hope we do keep him. I just hope everything plays itself out with the free agency and any trades we need to do in the off season to get us some of that some draft capital back, and B, we have some free agents because we have a lot of free agents next year.
Yeah. I'm also interested to see if Fred is out against the Seahawks. Aziz will be stepping into that role, and he'll be taking the green dot over and be making the calls and stuff. And he said that he does wear that in practice. However, he can't wear that during the games if Fred has it on because only one of them could have it.
Sure.
So I think I'm kind of interested to see how he does because although he does do it in practice, it's different, to take that responsibility over during like a live game. When you're used to just going to the huddle, taking care, getting your own shit taken care of you. Now
Yeah.
you got to be taking the call, making sure everybody else is set, paying attention to what's going on, if you need to change stuff and whatever. So I'm interested to see how he does, in that role and hopefully, he continues to impress.
Yeah, absolutely.
Offense, I'm going Elijah Mitchell. Um, yeah, he had 27 carries, 133 yards, touchdown. That put him at 693 yards for the season, which puts him only behind Najee Harris for rookie running backs.
Hmm.
Which is kind of crazy because he's missed what, 2 games?
I think it was 2. Yeah.
He's missed 2 games, and Najee, if you watch or know anything about the Steelers, that they run him like
Yeah.
crazy, you
Yep.
know. So I don't know how many carries each have, but I can just guess that Najee has a lot more carries than Mitchell has.
Hmm.
So that's pretty cool. It's been a while since, for as much as everybody loved Raheem, he wasn't ever up there like in the yardage, at the top of the list and all this,
Hmm.
So, it's pretty cool that we're not doing that great. Yeah, we're on a 3-win, right now, but our record's not as great as what everybody thought would it be. But however, we have 1,000-yard receiver. We have a rookie running back that's looking very promising. You know, um, he came back. We were wondering, how his workload would be since he was
Yeah.
injured. Coming back from that injury, and you, I couldn't even tell that he was injured. And
Hmm.
he said that he could tell that they were going after the ball. Like after that hand trying to hit the ball out, because
Yeah.
they knew he was injured. So for him to hang on to the ball and have a great game, I had to give him my game ball.
Yeah. He did amazing for sure.
Um, so Seahawks. This is my worst opponent. This is the team I hate playing against the most out of anybody. Because it always seems no matter how well we're doing, no matter how bad we're doing, or vice versa, it's always going to be a tough game.
Hmm.
And especially when we're playing in Seattle, and fans are back. Um, so yeah, even with them being 3-8, they've lost 3 in a row. Um, you do have to take into account that, Russell is out, so that's a big reason why they're 3-8. He has been back though 3 games. This will be his 4th game back. But it seems like to me that he rushed coming back too, that he came back way sooner than what he should. And yeah, his play has looked crappy. Um, but it doesn't look like anybody's playing well around him either, So,
Hmm.
but at the end of the day, Russell's Russell.
Yep.
Um, we seen, when did they play? Monday night?
Yes.
Him come back at the very end and it come down to a penalty on a onside kick that they actually had got, and then the penalty wiped it out, and like he almost had them come back and win that game because that's what Russell does.
Hmm.
Um so yeah, no matter how well we're playing, I'm never going to go into Seattle and think we're going to win this, right? Even with 2019, that team, I didn't feel confident going into Seattle and winning that. Um, your thoughts on Seattle week?
Man, yeah, you're right. Because I mean, if you want to go back to 2019, we were what 8-0, 7-0, and they gave us our first loss. You remember that?
Yep.
And then we go into Seattle, and they were inches away from beating us if it wasn't for Dre Greenlaw. So it's one of those things where, yeah, I totally agree. Like, I don't care if Seattle was 1-10 right now. It's just a simple fact that when we play this team, they get up for us. Like I feel like it's Pete Carroll's Super Bowl somewhat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hey, thank you for the stats, Melissa. Appreciate that. Yeah. So you look at them, and it's like, yeah. If I'm gonna put my money on somebody to get it together, it's Russell Wilson. Like I would never doubt that man now, a hurt finger or not, and like you said, even though he didn't play a good game. He started kind of playing more like Russell Wilson like in that fourth quarter. Like, I think they had like 30 seconds, 40 seconds on the clock, and he took them down the field and scored a touchdown. So yeah, I totally agree. I mean, and then you look at Fred Warner being out, just like you said, Aziz is going to step into his spot, and then you got Flanagan Fowles stepping into where Aziz plays. Good thing is Chris Carson is out. They never have a healthy running back. Everybody's freaking out about this Adrian Peterson signing. I'm just like, I'm not too worried about that. Like he gets put on a team and he gets cut immediately. So there's something you know that is wrong with him, I guess you can say, as that standpoint. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how confident I am in this game. I think, well, I mean, obviously we're the better team at this moment, but it is a division game. Like it's like us and the Rams. Like no matter how bad we are and good they can be, we beat them. It's just we just have their number, and I feel like it's the same thing with us in Seattle. Like we're obviously the better team. We're on a 3-game win streak. They're on a 3-game losing streak. But wouldn't surprise me if we went in there and lost that game. Not being negative, I'm just speaking real. I'm speaking the way we've played this team. So yeah, and then on top of that, not only are we missing our best player in the second unit of that defense, we're missing Debo Samuel, who has his offense rolling, and he's been such a monster this year. Like he's been such a focus that's why Kyle is using him so much, whether it's in the running game, screen passes. He's just so Kyle's gonna have to get into his bag too and see what's gonna happen. And I think this is a big test for our offense. I'm hopefully looking for somebody like a Juwan Jennings to continue his good play, because that's another one who I love the way he's playing. Like he's coming into his own, and he's having fun and stuff like that. And it looks like he has a little bit of chemistry with Jimmy. So yeah, I mean, I don't. If we win, I just don't see a blowout just because of who this team is. Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be tricky, and I agree with you, Mariah. This team is one of the ones I hate playing the most. Like I don't care if we were undefeated, I would still be worried about going into playing that team. So because I feel like, and the main thing is too that they know we're in a playoff hunt right now. So it would be like perfect for them to think, oh, you know what, I can go ahead and try to play spoiler. I can try to
Right.
get them out the playoffs. I can try to get them from the sixth seat to maybe now in the outside looking in. You know what I mean? So yeah, and if anybody has the mentality to do that, it's definitely Pete Carroll, because he doesn't like us either. So
Right. And, the Seahawks, since Pete Carroll's been there and Russell Wilson's been there, they haven't, I don't ever think, had this record, like they haven't been losing like this, so it's kind of dangerous in that regards because, they're pissed. They're not going to want to lose 4 games in a row.
exactly.
Like they lose this game, they're kissing everything goodbye pretty much. So it's going to be tough. I'm interested to see, how Russell is with the receivers, because it seems like him and the crybaby kind of have like a little thing going on. Like he's like not throwing to him at all,
Yeah,
which
talking about
is,
DK.
yeah, which is
Yeah,
really strange. It's like it he went most of that game like before he even targeted him, or like I think before DK even had a catch or anything. And it seems like if he's supposed to be one of your biggest weapons, your run game is shit. It's like if you have 2 great receivers, why wouldn't you be throwing the ball to him? It's almost
yeah,
like I feel like the Ayuk situation at the beginning of the season. It's
yeah,
like he's on the field running routes, but the quarterback's not looking his way regardless, so it doesn't matter what
exactly.
he does. And it's like, is that some of the reason why we're seeing these, tantrums by him, you know, like on the field, because the quarterback's not even targeting him? I don't
Yeah,
think it's very much so that the corners are locking him down.
no,
I think it's hard to lock him down. Like he's huge, like he's a freak athlete.
Oh, for sure.
So I would, if I was a quarterback, I would take the chances, that I'm throwing him the ball for him to get the ball,
Mhm.
like I'm betting on him.
Yeah. And of course,
Um,
too, like, everybody wants to dog our corner. Our corner's been playing solid these last few games. But still, at the same time, Russell Wilson, if I have a monster like DK Metcalf, 6'4", 230, and runs that fast, like either corner that's on him is a mismatch. He gets on if Josh Norman is on him, it's a speed aspect. I mean, obviously it's speed on either corner, but it's more
right.
of a speed aspect because Josh Norman's kind of slow. So, you run him on like a cross route or something like that, or like a go route. Who's going to stop him? You're going to have Jimmy Ward help over the top. Then if he gets on Emmanuel Mosley, that size difference is just ridiculous. You're looking at a 5'10", 5'11" corner on a 6'4". I mean, I think Metcalf probably outweighs him probably by like 50 pounds. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's I don't know. Like you said, like I said though, I think it's going to be one of those things where they're going back home after a tough loss. Russell was kind of getting into a little rhythm, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's like, well, let's see we let's see what we can do this time to try against the 49ers. Let's see if we can beat them deep. Let's see if we can get some pass interferences because that's what we're known for. You know what I mean? So yeah, it could be an interesting game for sure.
Um, yeah, like you said, the corners have been playing well. Obviously I gave my game ball to E-Man last week, and um, Norman, for all the crap that, all the interference calls, and he hasn't been playing that bad.
No.
We can't expect that they're gonna not have any, throws made against them. It's like the receivers are getting paid too. Like
Yeah.
it's the same. You can't expect that an offensive line is never gonna stop. Like they're gonna get sacks every once in a while. Every side of the ball is getting paid. Like plays are gonna get made. And for us picking him right up off the couch, the first couple of weeks, yeah, were a little rough, but
Yeah.
he's like averaging like a turnover a freaking game or something,
Pretty much. It's close.
like he has that punch like down, you
That
know
peanut punch they call it. Yeah, I mean, with Josh Norman, you take the good with the bad. Like, yeah, he might get a flag every now and then, but I feel like he makes it up with like a fumble or something like that. So yeah, it's like, you know, I'll take that
yeah.
because it gives you the opportunity for the defense to give the ball back to the offense with that punch. So yeah, I agree.
If they would have cut Josh Norman when everybody was expecting for Josh Norman to get cut, and Shanahan came out and said, "No, I'm not cutting him, he makes plays, whatever." We wouldn't have any freaking turnovers, barely.
Yeah,
Like he's caused a hell of amount of our turnovers right now. And it's like a lot of these games wouldn't have been won for if not for that.
yeah,
It's
you're
like
you're right.
if we would have got rid of him, and who would we have had playing corner? A
Yeah,
rookie that doesn't have those peanut punch skills yet. It's like
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. I
I
think
don't think he's been playing as bad as people want to
yeah,
think that he
no.
is.
I think what it comes down to, yeah, you're right. If it wasn't for him, the only turnovers we'd have in that secondary was the ones against the Rams with Ward, and
Yeah.
that's it. And just to see it, the Cowboys just beat the Saints, so the Saints are now 5-7. So
It's
that
good.
helps us. So
Yep.
that helps us out.
I mean, and I'm not expecting the Saints to do anything. They don't have a
No,
quarterback.
nope.
They're like going back and forth between two guys like that
Yeah,
are each half a quarterback.
yep. Which we
But yeah,
talked about before we started. What's his name? What's the kid's name that started tonight? A quarterback?
Hill.
Yeah, Taysom Hill. I was watching the game and he's running all over the field, but he's not called a running back for some reason. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I think you know where I'm going with that. But yeah,
Yeah. Um, I was just gonna bring up something else about that. I don't know what it was.
okay.
Oh, yeah, about the corners. It's like I'm wonder, the people that think our corners are playing so bad or calling for their jobs all the time. Like I'm wondering if they watch other football teams' corners.
Mhm.
Because if so, if you did watch other, I know a lot of fans don't watch other teams, they only watch their own team, which is fine, to each their own. I'm a
Mhm.
football fan in general. I'm a fan of the 49ers, but I'm a football fan. So I do watch, everybody.
Mhm.
And a lot of teams have some shit ass corners.
Yep.
Some
Yeah,
teams have one decent corner and one corner that not doing shit. Can't
yep,
hold on. Can't, is barely hanging on for their life.
you're
It's
right.
very rare that you're having a team with two lockdown corners. Corners are hard to find.
Oh,
It's,
absolutely.
I think, probably one of the hardest, besides probably quarterback,
Mhm.
to find a guy if you're not drafting within, the first, few, probably 15 picks of the draft. It's
Yep.
like after that, you're taking a big risk to get, a corner that's decent and be able to start and cover, especially, man for man. Um, so yeah, I don't think our corners are doing that bad. I know obviously, it's not who we thought was going to be starting, and we thought, it was going to be Verrett, and we know that he's a lockdown corner if he's healthy, but
Mhm.
I think with all the bumps and bruises and hiccups they took along the way, they're shaping up to be an okay group back there.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right, and you're right about corners. Like, it's one of those positions. I think there's four positions that are premium in this league: a quarterback, a left tackle, a pass rusher, and a corner. Like, those four don't come along in free agency that often. Like, they don't just don't grow on trees, as they say. You usually have to draft those guys. So yeah, so I think you're right. Like, corners are, it's a premium position where there's a lot of teams out here right now who are struggling at that position. Like, you might have, like you said, you might have like one solid corner, and then the other ones are like, oh man, like, I'm interested to see what's going to happen with the Bills with Tre'Davious White being out now. Like that
Yeah.
Taron Johnson guy's pretty good, but who else do they have? You know what I mean? So it's going to be one of those things where it's like, yeah, you usually don't have two. It's a rare thing where you have two corners that are just locked down. You know what I mean? And I haven't seen that in a long time. Like, I remember when Seattle had it with Richard Sherman and Brandon Browner. When they had two corners, and they had, of course, Earl Thomas and Cam Chancellor. Like, it's rare you see a secondary like that where
Yeah.
all wheels are just, there's no weaknesses. So yeah, I agree with you, Ryan.
I still think, obviously they have quite a matchup there, with DK and Lockett and who else? They have somebody
They
else.
have they have that guy. They have this rookie named Dwayne Eskridge, and then they have Brett Swain. And Swain was, I think, was the one that caught that touchdown at the end to
Oh, okay, yeah.
almost take it into overtime. Like, he's their third receiver. So
Yeah, so
yeah,
I mean they have a good receiving group there, so
Mhm.
it's, we'll see what DK we get, if he's going to be, if our defense can get in his head, at the beginning. I think that'll be good and throw him off his game or get him kicked out of the game, under the two.
yeah, yeah. Seriously,
um yeah, it's a shame, that he's can't get that into check or get, help or whatever it is that he needs. He obviously has some kind of anger issues, and that was something that was brought up in the draft, that he had those issues as well. And I think Kyle even spoke on that as well, that, that was something that, stopped them from looking at him, was
yeah,
because he had those, anger issues. And we're seeing that a lot this year, right?
yeah.
And it's it's a shame that he might waste a talented career, or that might get in the way of him having a really good career, because the talent's there. He's a great football
Easy.
player. um and hopefully he can just get whatever it is taken care of, and be a better person and football player. And I'm sure his teammates are probably getting tired of it as well.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, it's kind of like Odell Beckham all over again. It feels
Yeah.
like he's dyeing his hair and like more of like a diva type attitude. You know what I mean? And it's like, dude, just go out there and play football. Like, you have the ability to be an absolute stud out there. Like, he has top five wide receiver ability, easy. And I
Yeah.
understand, like you said, though, like, during the draft process, it was his attitude and then like his route tree, because he was like slants and go routes. He doesn't know how to really run that full route tree. And he's still young. He's only like, what, like 24? So yeah, once he gets that together, he can be a beast. But it's a want to. Like, do
Yeah.
you want to be good or not? You know what I mean? Because you can have all the physical ability in the world, but if you don't have that dog in you that want to, it doesn't matter. So
And that's the thing. It doesn't even seem like he's improved on his route tree very much, like is he even working to perfect his craft, or who knows what he's doing,
yeah.
but
Well, I've heard too, like he's been like over the off season, he was training for like track and field and stuff because he's a track and field guy. So
Mhm.
it's like, you got to pick one, man. Like, I mean, I understand. I know you're able to train with football doing track and field because it's a lot of sprinting and working on your lungs, getting your wind right and stuff. But if you're not out there running routes, like you're wasting your time. I'll never forget. Do you remember that receiver from the Rams named Torrey Holt?
Yep.
So Torrey Holt, he made his video, and my nephew used to play wide receiver, and I bought him the video that Torrey Holt made. And Torrey Holt, he made a good point. He was just like, when you get drafted when you're young, everybody's enticed with like your speed and stuff like that. But one thing they can't take away from you is your route running. So you will have a long career in this league because your speed is going to go at some point, but your route running, if it stays crisp, you're able to keep a job in the NFL because you know how to get open. I mean, look at Adam Thielen.
Yeah.
He's not that fast. Even DeAndre Hopkins, he's not that fast, but they're always open because they work on their craft. So yeah, I mean, I have, I hope it, it's funny because he is a Seahawk. I don't want him to go out there and start demolishing us, obviously, but at the same time, I do have respect for the young men. I do have respect for the game of football.
Yeah.
So it's like it's just sad to see as a football fan a guy with those kind of attributes not taking it serious. Because there's somebody who missed out on the NFL because they couldn't run a 4.3, they weren't 6'4", had all the intangibles, but didn't have what DK has, and he's letting it go to waste. So yeah, I don't know, I don't get it.
Yeah. It seems, similar as well to like the Antonio Brown situation. It's like something like their attitudes and, off the field stuff like just gets in the way, and I don't know.
Yeah.
It's hard to. Speaking of Antonio Brown,
Mhm.
did you see he got 3 game suspension
Yeah.
for that fake um
For the fake vaccination card.
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, that
It's
guy.
crazy. I know.
Oh,
I'm like, but it's kind of funny, and we'd probably never know, but why is it always that the team that Tom Brady's on either has cheating, has some kind of crazy shit going on? It's like I'm sure, him and Tom are close.
oh, for sure.
So
I
it's
mean,
like if
when he
Tom knew
signed,
that he
yeah,
didn't want to get vaccinated, like they knew that's a thing that, the Buccaneers were going for, was to have their team 100% vaccinated. So Tom Brady wasn't going to let Antonio Brown be the only guy, or, there's another guy that got suspended as well. So the only 2 guys not vaccinated. So it's like, was there like a little push in there, like to, like
who knows? Yeah,
Antonio Brown's only on that team because of Tom Brady. Like
yeah.
the head coach doesn't like Antonio Brown. Tom Brady had to get him in there. So
Antonio
could
Brown
you
on the
imagine if he
team.
would have
Yeah,
showed up and was like, "Nope, I'm going to be the only one not vaccinated."
yeah. No, and you're right. They're really close because when they first signed Antonio Brown, Tom Brady had him staying with him at his house. Like, come stay with me in my house in
Yeah.
Tampa. But yeah, I don't know. And I mean, that's an interesting point that you bring up about Tom Brady and his team always has some sort of cheating per se. I'm surprised that they're really tripping like that in Tampa because they're pretty lenient with the vaccines when it comes to Florida. Like Florida's pretty cool. Like they're just like, you don't have to have it, type thing. But yeah, and that's why, I don't want to make this a Tom Brady show, but that's why Tom Brady will never be the GOAT to me at quarterback. It'll always be Joe Montana because Joe Montana was never questioned for cheating. I don't care. I understand, yeah, Tom Brady, has won 7 Super Bowls or 8, whatever the case may be. I get it, but Joe Montana for me is always the GOAT because he has never been questioned for cheating. I don't care. Like one time is one, okay, cool. But there's been numerous times with the New England Patriots. Just because you got caught 3 times, how many times were you actually doing it? That means that you've been doing it
Exactly.
for a while. You know what I mean? So I don't care. Well, he only got caught 3 times. Yeah, but he was probably cheating way more than that. He just got caught 3 times. So yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, it's crazy.
And like 3 more times than any other team's getting caught, like,
Yeah.
and that's exactly why, um, even if it wasn't another quarterback, if the guy didn't even play for the 49ers and it was against somebody for the Steelers or whatever,
Hmm.
Tom Brady would never be the GOAT to me for that reason.
Yeah.
You cheat, whatever, that's done. You're done.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have the long career. I give you that. You can
Yeah.
play.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, he played longer than any ever player forever and ever, whatever. But you're never gonna be the GOAT because, like
No.
you said, you got caught that many times. But how much shit were you doing this
Hmm.
entire time to get you through?
Yep. I
It's like,
totally agree.
so yeah.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right about that.
That ain't my GOAT.
Not at all.
So we talked about how, our defense is going to stack up against their wide receivers. How do you think, it goes the other way? Um, our offense is going to do against their defense.
Or their
Wait,
corner.
before you answer that, let's
Okay.
go ahead and answer Melissa's question real quick.
Do you guys want to see down a nickel cornerback or regular cornerback? I've heard on both sides. Are you talking about for this season or next season, Melissa? He was actually brought in to be a nickel corner, and Ambry Thomas was supposed to play outside. So it's going to be interesting. Obviously, beginning of the season, we saw Lenore playing outside because we had no choice. And other than that long pass he got beat by Quez Watkins against the Lions, I never really saw him get beat. So he has the ability to play outside, whatever is best. I feel like I don't know. I'm hoping for them to bring in somebody, but I don't know what the situation going to be with our cap situation. But whatever happens if they trade away some players, I would like us to target cornerback early in the draft
Yeah.
if we can't bring one in a free agency, some kind of veteran. But yeah, I feel like, and I think, you know, we can talk about this, and I know I don't want to make everything about our quarterback, but if Jimmy gets traded for a second, which I think he will, because the 2022 draft class is not good. So I think if he gets traded for a second, I wouldn't even be mad if our first 2 picks are corners. I ain't even gonna lie. Like if we drafted 2 corners in the second round, I'd be all for that because one, you're getting Ambry Thomas, who hasn't really showed nothing yet, and which hurts me because I'm a Wolverines fan. I saw him in college, but you know, it's another situation, but he's not used for what he was drafted for. He was a man corner. Now they're asking him to play zone, which doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, yeah, I mean, a cornerback should be one of our biggest needs that we need to draft. And then yeah, so Hope versus Bruce was lethal. I totally agree. But yeah, so I hope that answers your question, Melissa.
Yeah, my stepdad is a Rams fan and my stepbrothers and sisters are Rams fans. And I used to work at a Rams bar, do cocktails at a Rams bar. So it was
Oh,
during those days of Holt and Bruce and all them. So I watched a lot of Rams football.
mm,
Yeah, they had a great team then. They had some good
yeah, they
weapons
were.
back then.
Yep, the greatest show on turf.
Yep.
So yep.
So yeah, back to our offense against their defense. How do you feel about that?
Our offense is their defense. It needs to be, you know, same as usual. I guess you can say, in better words. So yeah, Kyle just needs to keep doing what you're doing until you can't do it anymore. Keep running this ball. We were we were fortunate last week because the Vikings had 4 starting D linemen out. It's not going to be like that with Seattle, so it might be a little bit harder to run on them. And plus, they have Bobby Wagner, who's arguably the best inside linebacker in football.
Yeah.
So, and Jimmy struggled with this team last time. He struggled. I mean, didn't he throw a pick to Quandre Diggs? He threw a pick, and then also even though we limited Russell Wilson to 5 straight 3 and outs, we couldn't get the ball moving. after that first touchdown we scored, because
Yeah.
Jimmy looked great that one drive and then it just went downhill. So if anybody knows us, the Seahawks do, and they know that we're going to want to run the football. So they'll probably have Jamal Adams in the box. They're probably going to have, obviously, Bobby Wagner's going to be there. So I even if we don't run the football well, I would like to do it just to eat the clock and stuff like that. Because even if we're only averaging like 3.5 yards a clip, if we're getting 3.5 yards on first and second down, that means that puts us at a 3rd and 3, which Jimmy has been effective on third and short. So if we can just do that, we don't have to average no 5-6 yards a carry. Just put Jimmy in short field position, as far as getting first downs on third and short, and I think we can be okay. I think we can expose that. But yeah, I would like to use Juice, but you're right, don't overuse him. But I think he is a key factor. I think he's I don't want to use Ayuk like Debo, because I think he's a little a light in the tail.
Yeah.
I don't even think he's 200 pounds.
I don't think
Because
so.
he's really, yeah, I don't think he's even 200 pounds. So using him like Debo on those jet sweeps and stuff like that, I would go against that. I'd rather use that for Kittle or Sherfield. You know what I mean? To get that done. But yeah, with our best weapon being hurt, I can see a lot of Juice in there and a lot of Warner, because I feel like Charlie Warner, they're gonna need him to block, and I think with him blocking, they're gonna use Kittle more as a receiving threat, because we're gonna need him to go out there and be a receiving threat with Debo out. So yeah, I mean, I just think business as usual. We run the ball. Elijah Mitchell's been playing great. I mean, you said we're getting Hasty back, so that's awesome as well. So yeah, I
Yeah.
would, so yeah, just keep doing what's been working for 3 weeks. So
Yeah, I agree about the Ayuk thing. I mean, that would be the worst thing, is that we go out there and then we lose him to an injury, the same way. Um, I I don't know. Jimmy against linebackers, of course, is scary, right? And then especially against one of the best linebackers in the league, probably the
yes,
best for, several years now.
yeah,
Um, and a linebacker that knows Jimmy very well. So we're going to have to run, but like you said, they're going to stack their box. They're going to, that they're going to come out more so than anybody that we've seen up to this point to stop that run.
oh for sure,
I mean, we're averaging, I think, 41 runs a game the
okay,
last 3
yep,
weeks.
hmm
You know, that's going to be their number one priority, is to make Jimmy throw that ball. And then with Debo being out, that's scary, because yeah, we've seen, Juwan Jennings, stepping up, but at the same time, he's still, inexperienced. He's still, fresh, pretty much. It's
yep,
not Debo. We can't go out there and expect that, he's going to fill in and have the production that we see from Debo Samuel.
yeah.
Um, so we're going to have to rely, yeah, on Mitchell. They're going to be stacking the box. It's going to be hard to run. Um, we're down our number one weapon. We're going to need a huge game from Kittle, I think.
I think so too.
Um, you brought up Charlie Warner, which I've been thinking about lately, and we've been seeing him play, getting used more,
hmm
lately. And when he does, get used in the passing game, he's there. He's been blocking great. It seems like he's kind of pushing that tight end two spot from Dwelly.
I think he has it.
What do you think the deal is with Dwelly?
I think it's just his blocking. I think he's so suspect in blocking. What game were we playing? I think it was a Colt. Was it the Colts game when he gave up that sack? Right there on the right side, because everybody was like, oh, you know Jimmy had the big play, but he missed it because of Dwelly. I beg to differ, but I think it was just missed. But yeah, I think I think the way we're playing right now and the way we want to run the football and be physical, I think that's why we're seeing more Charlie Warner, because he plays to what we're doing right now on offense. But Dwelly's fresh right now. Like, I would love to see him go out there, because he scored the touchdown against the Seahawks that game. He went out there and exposed the secondary and got past Jamal Adams and all that. So yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be interesting, but yeah, just to to make it a simple answer, yeah, I think it's just because these last 4 games we've been running the ball so much, and I think Charlie Warner is just that much of a better blocker than Ross Dwelly.
And, Dwelly has great hands, and it seems, even, in other weeks when we're not, running the ball 40 times a game, that he doesn't get used as much as anybody thinks that, like everybody's always calling for Dwelly to get more catches, get used
Hmm.
more. And it's like we never see that, usage from him unless Kittle's out.
Yeah,
So it's always been, kind of interesting to see that we're all thinking this guy can be so great, and again,
yeah. Well, I think when it comes down to it, he's such a finesse tight end that he just goes out there and catches passes. Like that's just his main job. But it was funny about Charlie Warner. People don't realize in high school he was a 4-star wide receiver, so that receiving ability is there. It's just when
Yeah,
he got to Georgia, they were so stacked at wide receiver. They're like, we're gonna make you put on some weight and become a good tight end. And then in that process, he just turned out to be a phenomenal blocker. Because even when he came out in the draft, they were like, he's the best tight end blocker in his draft class,
yeah,
and it didn't show it. It didn't really show last year, but you're starting to see it now. And then two, when the ball's thrown his way, he catches it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So yeah, I just think that Dwelly has been passed up just for what we do. But you get Dwelly on a team like a pass happy team, I think he excels. I think he
yeah,
excels. Like, but yeah, so I think that's just what it comes down to. He might, I mean, I think, and it sucks too, because looking at the situation with tight end, with the way Charlie Warner's playing, it can get to a point where it's making Ross Dwelly expendable.
yeah. I'm sure he will be after this season.
Yeah,
Especially with Charlie stepping up and being great. Like you said, blocking, and then with Lance taking over. Next season they're going to be running. So obviously Charlie will fit great into that situation as well. So
yeah,
and it's good. It's good to see, and I mean, no better blocking tight end for him to learn from, than Kittle. So
exactly.
yeah, I think that's a great situation there. But I would probably think Dwelly will be gone after this season.
Yeah,
And I like you
sadly,
said,
but
if he
yeah,
goes to another team, like we've seen another tight end of ours go to the Steelers before and do well over there.
Vance
And
McDonald.
and
Yeah,
so Dwelly might be the next one, maybe.
yeah. Like I can see him going somewhere like the Saints, who doesn't really put an emphasis on tight end blocking. Like I think he'd be great there. I mean,
Yeah.
if they had a quarterback, but you know,
Well, they might have Jimmy next year.
that's a possibility.
Jimmy to Dwelly.
The chemistry is there.
Yep. Um so we talked about the offense. What are you expecting? Are you expecting then that Kyle's going to come out and try to obviously run the ball? When they try to stop the run, are we going to see him stray away from the run? Are we going to see him, if the defense of the Seahawks is playing great to stop our run,
Hmm.
is Kyle going to keep continuing to try to run the ball like he did last week and the week before and the week before? Or are we going to see him attempt to try to put the ball in Jimmy's hands after what we've seen the beginning of last week and him obviously yelling at Jimmy on the sideline?
To
Like,
be
has he
honest with
lost? Does he
you,
have that trust in Jimmy, you think?
to be honest with you, I think it's all about game flow. If it's like if we're marching, I mean not marching on the field, but if they're stopping our run and we're getting in a position where it's like we have to punt and we're making them punt and it's a low scoring game, like it's 0-0 or 3-0 Seattle or something first quarter, I don't see him going away from it. I think the only way he goes away from it is if Seattle's offense takes over and the game starts getting out of hand, because then you leave him no choice but to throw it. But and I know we're going to get to our score predictions, but I think it's going to be a low scoring game. I just don't see like big offense from anybody, because we know because of how Seattle plays us, and then at the same time too, it's like Seattle's offense has been horrendous,
Yeah.
so it can get to a point. And the thing with Russ, he can have a bad game. But at the same time, um, he doesn't turn the ball over. So if he's having a bad game, it's because like they're going three and out and stuff like that. So yeah, depending on game flow, I don't see Kyle putting the ball in Jimmy's hands to throw the ball like he did against Minnesota, because I don't see the game getting out of hand. I think it's going to be a close game because I think with Kyle, he trusts his scheme so much that he's like, when I run the ball, there's always some kind of gap that's available. So I think he's banking on with Elijah Mitchell's speed that he's going to find one of those gaps and just burst through and take it to the house like Mostert does. I think that's what he's banking on because as we've seen, Rasheem Mostert do that so many times. So yeah, that's that's what I think. I think we run the ball still 40 times. I just don't see him throwing it.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be a game to see because I I don't know. It's hard for me to bet against Russell Wilson that's coming off 3 losses and knows he's playing to either get traded, most likely one of them are gone next
Oh, for
season,
sure. It's either Carroll or
either both
Wilson.
or one of them,
Yeah,
one or the other. So it's
yeah,
like, they need to win games to at least get their next job and,
yeah.
wherever they want to go. And,
Before you
um,
continue, Mariah, this is what's funny about it too. When we played, I think when we played Seattle, we were on a 2-game win streak or whatever. Like we had, I think it was like one of those things where it's like Russell Wilson has never lost 3 straight games, and the Niners on Monday Night Football or whatever the case may be hasn't lost 2 games in a row. So it was like one of those things, and I feel like it's setting up to be the same thing. Where it's like, yeah, we won 3 games, they've lost 3 games, but if you're really trusting that Russell Wilson's going to have a third consecutive bad game and not being able to take this team and put it on his back, regardless of the situation, regardless if they're in playoff contention or not, like that's hard. That's hard to fathom. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, after his head coach is coming out saying that he needs to play better and he needs to do this and he needs to do that, like knowing Russell Wilson to be Russell Wilson,
Yeah.
like it's just hard to think he's going to come out there and do bad.
Yeah.
Um, Score predictions. What are you thinking?
I'm going 21-16 Seattle.
All right. I'm glad I won't be alone this week. So I do, before I have to get into mine, I do have to give the 49ers their credit. They did squeak out these 3 wins in a row. Um, and I think that they, checked off each box that we were questioning for the next week. It's like, okay, well, they beat the Rams, but they always beat the Rams. And then it's okay, well, they're going on this road game, short time, flying across the United States, early game. They beat them. Okay, well, that team's trash. They should have beat them, right?
Mhm.
And then, okay, well, if they beat the Vikings at home again, then, we'll give them some credit because, they did it. Well, okay, they beat the Vikings, so I'll give them their credit, but that don't mean I'm expecting them to come out this week and win again. Because like I said, it's Seattle. And I'm just, at the end of the day, it comes down to, again, do I trust that Jimmy's going to come out and have a better game or Russell Wilson's going to come out and have a better game? And 10 out of 10 times, I'm going to put my money on Russell Wilson. I mean, he's 100% a better quarterback than Jimmy Garoppolo. He's forever going to be that. There's never going to be a day that Jimmy Garoppolo is a better quarterback than Russell Wilson. So I'm just not going to bet against a pissed off Russell Wilson that's has a lot to prove right now.
Mhm.
So I'm going to go. I'm going to have to go, I think, probably. I think it's going to be low scoring as well. But I don't know how low is the thing. I'm going to go 13-24 Seattle.
Really? Okay.
Um, yeah, because as much as everybody knows Ayuk's my guy, that's my number one wide receiver. This offense runs through Deebo Samuel.
Absolutely.
Even, as much as it didn't look like it did, in the past seasons, we felt when he wasn't on that field,
Yep.
and that was when, Kittle was more the focal point. And yet it's a clear night and day difference when Debo's not on the field.
Hmm.
And that's going to hurt because that's been everything for Shanahan these last couple weeks. We're using him as a running back, and as well as Elijah Mitchell's doing, we're still having to use Debo Samuel as a running back
Yep.
for a reason. It's like, I think he's getting some crazy amount of yards per run, so
It's like 11 yards a carry or something.
yeah,
Something outrageous. Yeah. He's getting a
crazy.
first down every time he catches the ball in the backfield.
Right. And, as much as, Ayuk stepping up and Juwan Jennings is stepping up and we'll see who steps up. I think it's gonna hurt us not having him. And
Yeah.
it's gonna be a huge blow to this offense because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you can clearly see that Jimmy doesn't have that same trust with Ayuk and the other receivers that he has with Debo.
Sure.
Even with Kittle, we haven't seen him being used in the passing game as much. And there's been times that he's down there open and Jimmy's not throwing to him. And like, that's supposed to be his BFF, so I don't know. It's like I said, if to win this game, we're going to need a huge game from Kittle, and we need him to block too, because we still have offensive line missing and backups in and all this. So we need Kittle to be blocking, so how's he going to be helping us in the passing game at the same time?
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't know. Hopefully, I hope that, of course, I don't want to see us go in there and lose. And of course, out of all teams, this is a team I want us to go in there and kick their ass.
Absolutely.
But
For sure.
it's hard because it's Seattle and I can't take them lightly.
Well, too, it's like, so fam, the reason for my prediction is, we played Seattle. Let me see. Time to run the ball, D-line tired, and keep Russ on that bench. I agree, Tanya. That's what needs to happen. The reason for my prediction is, when Seattle came to our house, and I get we're a different team from 6-7 weeks ago or whatever. When Seattle came to our house, Russell Wilson played a terrible game. We put pressure on him, and I feel like our D line has kind of regressed.
Yeah.
Like, because during that game, we had Russell Wilson kind of on edge, like we were creating pressure, and he was a bit rattled. So, and we limited him to 5 3-and-outs. I mean, and that were in a row, not just throughout the game, consecutive 3-and-outs, and we couldn't put no points on the board. And they were playing in our house, so I look at it now, and I get, Seattle's probably worse off than what they are then, but at the same time, Lombardi's posting John York our practice again. A W confirmed. But that's funny. But yeah, that's the only reason why I don't feel comfortable because playing up there in that atmosphere, even the fans up there hate us. So the fans are gonna go to this game just in general, just to see if they can beat us. That that stadium gets loud. Russell Wilson losing 4 games in a row. I don't think he's ever done that in his career. So it's gonna be tough. So yeah, I agree with what Tanya said and the other person that commented. I can't remember the name, but yeah, run the ball. Because I feel like if you control this offense and you don't let Seattle get out in front of you, because if Russ is in his bag and he's like, you know what, I'm just gonna beat this team deep, and he starts throwing deep bombs at Tyler Lockett and DJ Metcalf, that's probably gonna be more in his favor because he has the best deep ball in the league.
Yeah.
So his hand, I don't know what his hand situation is, but I don't know. It's gonna be tough. Like, and I feel like, we're on a high right now, and there's no way. I don't think we're gonna run the table. You know what I'm saying? We're not gonna go. I mean, we run the table to put us at 12-5. There's gonna be some losses in there, and I hate to say it, fam, but I think this one might be it.
Yeah. Looks like Melissa's predicting the 49ers win. Tanya, 49ers win. Worst fans by far, Philly close second.
For sure.
Yeah.
I wish if I was at that game when they were throwing stuff at Navarro Bowman, I would have gotten to some fights. There was definitely some fans that I would have been waiting for in the parking lot because I don't play that. Like, you don't do that. That's what made me hate them the most when they were throwing that stuff at Navarro Bowman, popcorn and beer bottles and stuff. That's just unacceptable. So I agree, Melissa. That's a worst fan base.
Yeah, that's when my hate towards the Seahawk fan base,
Mhm.
like I can dislike teams, whatever, but I don't I'm cool with the fans. I have friends of all different teams. But that made me like really have a strong just
Hatred for him,
hate.
huh?
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
like
because for you to do that to somebody that's injured, like that's who cares if you hate the player, hate the team, whatever the case may be. Like
have some
that's a
respect.
human person that's freaking injured, like
Yeah.
that just is out for his freaking like that injury
And it
like
was a
was a
serious
terrible
injury too.
injury.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't like it was turf toe or something like that. Like it put him out for a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's when I lost all respect for that fan base
Yep.
right there.
Totally agree.
And yeah, Philly, like I said earlier, my family's from Philly, so they're all Eagles fans. So that they're rough up there.
There they are. Do you know that the Eagles and the Las Vegas Raiders are only two stadiums that have holding cells underneath the stadium?
No.
So when I took a tour of the Raider Stadium, they told us about that, but we weren't allowed to go down there. But yeah, they have a holding cell because they know how the fans get with the Raiders, and
Oh
they
wow.
so they have a holding cell underneath the jail, and so do the Eagles. So just in case there's a fight or somebody gets out of line, they put them in there, call the cops, and the cops take them to real jail. It's crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy. The Raiders fans are pretty bad too.
Oh, most definitely.
I mean, they seem a lot better since, obviously
Since
we
they
have to put
came
up with
here,
them every day. Yeah.
yeah,
They are a lot better than, when they were in LA and all that, but they're still
yeah,
questionable.
yep.
A lot of stuff happens, and when you see who did it, they're 9 out of 10 times wearing a Raiders hat. That's all I'm gonna
Oh,
say.
for sure. Yep, you ain't lying.
um, but yeah, I think we'll see what happens if Fred ends up playing. We should know maybe by Saturday, and then what the game plan's gonna be. Without Debo being there, um, hopefully they're not just rushing back hasty because
Because they feel like
they
they
have
need
nobody
them or
else to put
something.
in there
Yeah,
because Trey Sermon's out too.
yeah.
Um, but I mean, too, it just seems like they've been using Hasty really weird this season.
I
And
agree.
it's like every time Kyle gets up there, he makes sure he talks about, well, Hasty's our third down back. Hasty's our third down back. Why? Why?
Yeah, and I don't like the fact too. Like when he's in on third down, like they use him as a wide receiver, wheel routes and stuff like that. Like I don't get it. Like,
Every time.
yeah, I'm like, why are you using him like that? Like you can be using a receiver to do that. I mean, although it worked with Trey Sermon against who was it? I think it was Jacksonville when he ran that wheel route on third down and caught that ball on the sidelines. But I mean, most of the time you usually have a third round. I mean, you usually have a third down back because they're your best blocker because it's usually passing downs. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I agree though. He's been used pretty weird.
Yeah. And it's like you're throwing to him, like you said, like every third down, and he's not getting any of them. But yet you
No.
keep doing it. It's like the weirdest shit I've seen.
Yeah, in the
And
case
during
like
that
that,
time, like that's when they weren't using Ayuk, so it's
yeah.
like we have Ayuk there wide open, and you're throwing to Hasty
To
that's not
Jamal
fucking catching
Hasty,
the
yeah,
ball.
yeah. Like in a situation like that, I'd rather you use Kyle Juszczyk
Yeah.
on third down to go catch the pass if that's what you're gonna do. Like I don't know. I'm just glad that we're past that kind of an offense. That we're not, I don't know. I feel like Kyle has just like, you know what, this is just what I'm gonna do. And it's funny because everybody was like, man, how come we didn't do this all season? Who knows? But Kyle has, like I said, it's like he has some kind of come to Jesus talk or something. And he's just like, you know what? I need to put this team in the best position to win. I need to have a winning season because, Kyle has a little bit of arrogance to him where he's just like, I'm sure he hates hearing three losing seasons in four. He
Oh
hates
yeah, I'm
hearing
sure.
he hates hearing that. So he's just like, I have to win. Like even if it's a 9-8 season, it's a winning season. So
Yeah.
I think he got in his bag, and and we've been clamoring for this for a long time. Like when we were doing horrible and we lost to the Colts, everybody was like, man, like there needs to be some kind of meeting, something needs to be done because this team does not look good. And before we end, I'm going to say this until until it happens or doesn't happen. So after the Colts game, I said that this was not a playoff team. As of now, it looks like I might be wrong. Still 6 games left, so anything can happen. But you have to be subscribing to our channel. And if we make the playoffs, I'm gonna pick a fan who subscribed to us, and I'm gonna DM you and ask you to pick a hat and T-shirt um, off of Fanatics, and you can pick one, and then I'll send it to your address. So I'm a man of my word. So if we make the playoffs, somebody will be getting a free hat and shirt. So
There you go. Speaking of that, we were supposed to announce last week our winner of the 100 sub giveaway, but we had Mike on the show and then got sidetracked and all that. I did announce it on Twitter, but for everybody else, it was 49ers Chinel that won, and we are getting a special package together to send to him in Guam. So that'll be going out soon. We appreciate you, like I've told you 100 times, for being, one of our day one supporters. And everybody else that's got us over that 100 subscribers. And, let's keep going. Um, Melissa, yeah, Jeff Wilson, even this season, Jeff Wilson, since he's come back, has been not very good.
no, he's not as explosive as he used to be.
No, he's like doing absolutely nothing. And I know, like he's that, you know, get in there, gritty, like wear down the freaking defense, but he's not even doing that well. Like, at this point, it seems like, maybe they're just keeping him there now because who else are we going to put in there? But it's like, I don't know. He's definitely shouldn't be on the team next season.
Yeah, I think he's just used to kind of give Elijah Mitchell like a couple breathers. Like we'll give you 6 to 10 carries just so you can 6 to 10 carries just so Elijah Mitchell can go to the sidelines and catch his breath. But yeah, he hasn't looked good at all. I just don't see how he's on this team next year. I think of course, I think we're gonna go into next season with what night you go on. I think what it comes out to is going to be obviously Trey Sermon, Mitchell, and probably Hasty, and they'll probably bring in like another unrestricted free agent running back or two, or who knows? We might even surprise them, maybe sign another 1 year deal with Raheem Mostert. Who knows? Mostert and Mitchell would be a great 1-2 punch if Mostert's healthy. But yeah, I don't see Jeff Wilson on this team next year either. So it's going to be a lot of changes. Like I think this is the first time in a long time where we're going to see like an overhaul of this roster. That's my opinion because we try to bring back all these 1 year deals and stuff like that. I don't see that next year. I think like K1 and Tart and all these guys are going to end up being gone. That's just what I see. But yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully, yeah.
I agree.
Go
They're
ahead.
going to try to get younger,
Yeah.
especially, we're getting younger at the quarterback position. Obviously, that seems to be what everybody believes happened this season is that they signed all these vets to, a 1 year deal with, them hoping that it would be a Super Bowl run. And it's kind of hard to then start a rookie quarterback in that mix when you have the quarterback on the team that already was the quarterback when the team went to the Super Bowl,
Mhm.
So I think this at the end of this season is the time to do it, get in younger, healthier where we
Yeah.
can. And I think also that hopefully Trey Sermon gets whatever's going on fixed better
Yeah.
next season. And because I think, like I've said before, I think that his role was meant to be with Trey Lance, those two together. Trey Sermon fits in that system that, Trey Lance is going to be doing. That's what he did in college. So I think we do see more of him. I'm hoping next season as well. I think Sermon and Mitchell, and like you said, if it's Raheem or whoever it may be, I think that'll make a good
Yeah.
running back room there.
Yeah, I think we're in agreement that regardless of what happens with Sermon, like Mitchell is the number one back going
Yeah.
forward until he
Yeah.
shows us different, or it just so happens if Trey Sermon just turns into like this beast where it's like, okay, now we have to start him. But yeah, Mitchell will definitely be the main back, I think, going forward.
Yeah. Tanya, normally Thursdays around 7:30ish our time. whatever time that is. West
I
West
think,
Side time.
yeah, Tanya's in the Bay, so yeah, we're usually between 7:30 7:45 Pacific time. So
Last week, obviously it was different because of Thanksgiving and whatnot, but yeah, normally we try to do Thursdays. Um, but yeah, Melissa, I know she doesn't want Mostert to come back.
yeah, I mean, I get it, Melissa. I'm with you. I want a healthy roster going forward because as much as we complain about the health, like it's like a catch 22. It's like if he comes back, Raheem Mostert comes back on a 1 year deal, like if it's like 1 year, 1 million, okay, fine. I can deal with that. But then when he gets hurt, we can't be surprised that he's hurt again because that's what
Right.
he does. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where it's like, if you want to get rid of the Tarts and the Mosters, and obviously if I had to pick out of one of them two, I'm going with Raheem. But then like a Jason Verrett, like if all of them just leave going forward, yeah, Jason Verrett, if all of them leave going forward, I'm fine with that because I'm looking now going forward. Like we've talked about this for a while about Kyle and John and their bad decision making when it comes to like free agency and draft and stuff like that. Like this whole draft, I don't want anybody that's had an ACL tear. Pick pick somebody that's been healthy 90% of the time in college. If you get a corner, if he's missed a game or two in 3 years, I'm fine with that. But if you're like, oh well, he tore his ACL 2 years ago, and like why are you bringing that back to our roster? Like D Ford at the time, it looked like a great pickup, but you look at his history with Kansas City. He was hurt majority of the time in Kansas City until his contract year,
Yep.
and all of a sudden, yeah, he had a pretty serviceable, or you can say a good 2019 season, but the last 2 years he hasn't contributed anything to this football team.
Yeah. It's like, why do you think they wanted to get rid of him? If
Yeah,
he was so great and healthy and there all the time, they're not going to let him go.
I mean, yeah, because other than the Raiders and their boneheaded move when they traded away Khalil Mack, which I
Right.
still didn't agree with, teams don't trade pass rushers like that, especially one that just came off a Pro Bowl. He made the Pro Bowl. He had double-digit sacks. They signed him. He looked good in 2019 and has been crap for a year and a half. So, and then now we have a $14 million cap hit. So he'll probably be here in 2022 as well. So we're stuck with that. So yeah, so I just want a healthy roster going forward. Like, if you want to take your chances on a Mostert and bring him back on a 1 year deal, it better be for vet minimum. Don't bring him back a 1 year, 5 million. Like you're overpaying that dude. Even 3 million. Like don't pay. It's too much because you have. Well, what do we have? Like 32 free agents next year. I mean,
Yeah.
after the season, that's a
Mhm.
lot of free agents, and and that money needs to be spread wisely. And people make, and then and we think like, well, we're gonna have that 27 million off the books if we trade Jimmy. Not really, because we got to pay Bosa, we got to pay Samuel, and we got to pay Lake and Tomlinson.
Mm-hmm.
So that's three key free agents, and Bosa will probably get a contract faster than. Samuel will probably get a contract faster than Bosa, because at least Bosa has that 5th year option where we can say, okay, we'll wait till your 5th year. But Bosa, with Samuel, we have to pay him next year.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he's gone. Like we had, it's because 2022 will be his 4th year, right?
Yep.
Yeah, because 1920. Yeah, it'll be next year's the last year of his contract. He was a second rounder, so he doesn't get that 5th year option. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. So that 27 million from Jimmy is not really as good as it looks because it's going to go to one player.
Yeah. Like, and my thing, I wouldn't mind Raheem coming back, like you said, for the vet minimum or,
Yeah.
whatever it is. But also, and Jason Verrett as well. But my thing is, if you're going to bring back people like that, you can't bring them back and, relying on them to be your starter going into the season.
Exactly.
If you're going to bring back Verrett, you better have a starter in place, and Verrett can compete with whoever's there if you're bringing him back. And if he can stay healthy through the season and wins the starting job, then okay. But don't go into the
Absolutely.
season just thinking, oh, that's his job, like we did this season, and then we're
Mhm.
screwed.
Yep.
With
And then
both
we're
of them.
bargain bin shopping. Yeah, and then we're
Yeah.
bargain bin shopping. Yeah. So yeah, I totally agree. But and it's like people don't realize when they have incentive based contracts, it doesn't go towards it doesn't go towards your cap. So you can tell Raheem like, hey, I'll give you a 1 year deal worth $1 million base pay, which will count towards our cap. However, you play 10 games, we'll give you another $500,000. We pay, you know what I'm saying? If you want to give that extra money out of the owner's pockets for incentives and bonuses, that's fine.
Right.
But the base pay cannot be any more than like $2 million, in my opinion, because then now it's like, okay, and then so you're paying him $2 million for him. Who knows? He might not even start because Elijah Mitchell's been looking so well. So you don't
Mhm.
know, and you don't know how good he's going to come back from his injury. So yeah, I agree with you, Miriah. Like, don't bank on somebody like a Verrett. Like, if you want to bring him back, will I be happy about it? Well, it depends on the contract. But
Yeah.
if he comes back and you're like, well, he's penciled in as my starter, you're making a mistake. Bring him back, let him compete. Like, don't just let him get all the first team reps, because then if you don't have a backup plan for that, like you said, like we didn't have this year, we're going to be in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be crazy to see. And I know it sounds, like we have a lot of free agents, but I've heard, Croc talk about that a lot of teams at the end of the season have a ton of free agents like that.
Hmm.
And especially, this season, it's more than usual because you do have more 1-year deals all throughout the league because of the whole, salary cap situation going down this, past season and stuff.
Yeah.
So, a lot of those are just, backup players, fill in here, fill in there, guys that, are going to still be on 1-year deals. A lot of people that, we don't even see that often that just play
Yeah.
special teams and stuff,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
yeah,
like some of those people, like we're not going to miss a Trenton Cannon, some players like that. But like, I mean, I'm gonna be real here though. Like, if I can get some draft capital for like a Ross Dwelly or some of these key players that have talent that can be a contributor on somebody's team, I'm taking it.
yeah,
Because at least if you sit there and you get all these draft picks, you pretty much have redshirted your whole 2021 class. So you bring in these new draft picks, get them in there to compete. I think we're gonna have a nice young team. But yeah, I just think if you can get some capital for them, that's why I was saying, like, if we had the opportunity to trade away Dre Greenlaw at the trade deadline, I would have done it. Because one, you can't keep him and Aziz. You can't pay them both, in my opinion. You're not gonna be able to pay them both.
exactly.
So if you had a chance to trade one of them, you get that, and in the way that we do develop these linebackers, I wouldn't be worried at all. So I don't know, but yeah, a Dwelly, a Greenlaw, if you can get rid of those guys that and people get mad when I say that. Oh, you don't trade away Greenlaw. He's and they and it's all based off of what he did against Seattle for us to go to win in the playoffs. It's like,
Yeah.
but it's like you look at Aziz. He has not missed a beat, and honestly, I think he's played better. So yeah, that's my opinion on
100%
it.
he's played better.
Yeah.
And I mean, before we saw Greenlaw go back out in this past game, he's there missing tackles, all that. And that's stuff that he does every game,
Hmm.
like, and that's the thing is that that fans get so wrapped up in these players because they make, a great play that,
Yeah,
and yeah, like I get it. That play, that's going to go down as one of the
in
best plays,
history.
in
Yep.
49ers history right there. But that doesn't mean that that makes him a great player all the time that he's on the field. It's like he has that ability to have moments like that, but in between those times, he's not doing that great, is what everybody wants to see him.
Yeah.
Aziz has stepped up and done a hell of a lot better job,
Yeah,
I think.
that's funny because I was arguing with somebody in Spaces about that because we were talking a few weeks ago before the trade deadline. They were like, "Who would you trade right now?" And there was a couple players that were mentioned, and they were like, "Would you trade Tart?" And I go, "Yeah, but he's on IR. You can't trade him." And that was like, they were like, "What about Ward?" I was like, "Nah, he's too important to this team." And then Dre Greenlaw came up, and I was like, "Yeah, I'd trade him in a heartbeat." What? You're crazy. Why would you trade Dre Greenlaw? Well, Aziz is playing good. We have Flanagan Fells, and I had mentioned, like, well, I trust our draft process when it comes to linebackers or undrafted process, because Jonas Griffith traded for a fifth, Aziz Al-Shire and Flanagan Foles have all are all good linebackers undrafted. So why not? You're gonna trade Dre Greenlaw after the stop at the one and that pick six against Detroit? I'm like, what else has he done?
Yeah.
Like, okay, good. You named two good plays, but named everything else. But it's like you can't go off of those two plays of a pick six against the Lions and then that stop at the one. Like I said, not knocking that. One of the best plays in 49ers history. I get it. But if you're basing that off of we need to keep him based off that and a pick six against the Lions, I have to question you and your football knowledge as far as a business standpoint.
I would think that's probably the same fans that still wanted Jalen Hurd on the team because he made a couple good plays during
A
preseason.
preseason game. Yep. Yep.
Like just hanging on to these great moments that we see and hoping that that's what that player is going to be day in and day out when they're on the field. And that's not the case.
Melissa,
Like,
yes, we did. We did pick up the 5th-year option of Mike McGlinchey.
yeah.
But I'm curious to see how he comes back because I've heard that he had the same injury as what was our old center's name? I can't think of his name off the top of my head. The one that retired because he was hurt all the time. But anyway,
Yeah.
whoever his oh my gosh, anyway. But I heard he had like a similar injury to him, so it's going to be interesting to see if he can come back, and be healthy and stuff like that. But yeah, we did pick up his 5th option, I think in May, like right after the draft.
Yeah.
And you might be right, Melissa. You're so
Yeah,
wrong
I
on
was
Dre.
wondering about if Dwelly. Yeah, I'm not sure about if they're under contract next season or not.
I respect that, Melissa. But are we going to be able to pay Dre Greenlaw and Aziz? That's the real question.
Yeah. I
It's
don't know.
bugging me. What the heck is our center's name? The old one.
Rich.
Weston Richburg.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, him. So
Yeah. I'm just, and of course, it's not just he's only made 2 plays, but what we're trying to say is that Aziz has stepped in and not missed a beat. He's not missing tackles. He's filling in and doing above and beyond what Greenlaw has shown this,
and Aziz is bringing a more physical standpoint to our linebacking core. Like, I feel like when he hits people, it pumps up the rest of the team because he's probably the hardest hitter out there. Like he's smacking people around. And yeah, you're right. And there was another play by Dre Greenlaw in that same game where I think Russell Wilson was driving down the field and he threw an interception to him. So he did pick off an interception there too. But I mean, I think I agree with you, Melissa, and I'm not trashing Dre Greenlaw. He's a good player. All I'm saying is Aziz will probably cost less because Dre Greenlaw has done so-called more, I guess you can say, and it was actually a draft pick. But if it comes down to it, we can't pay both of those linebackers along with trying to pay all our other free agents. That's all I'm saying. It's more of a business standpoint. I don't want to see him go. If they were both back on a team friendly deal, I would take it all day. I just don't see that happening.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I like Greenlaw, like you said, I would love to keep them both. I just think that Greenlaw is going to, obviously want to get paid and he, deserves to go play linebacker for a team that's going to pay him,
Yeah. You got a family to feed and I wouldn't blame him at all.
Yeah. I just, it's still, like I said earlier, it's hard for me to think that after all the praise that we've seen Aziz get this season from Kyle, from D'Amico, from every single person on that staff and player, that they let him walk.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
And especially, with Greenlaw coming back and then getting hurt again, they're going to keep a player that got hurt now twice in the, this season and we're going to keep you and we're going to get rid of the player that we've had here healthy all season.
Yeah, and who has been pretty much healthy, his whole time he's been there. And it's funny because even last season, there was talk about who should start, Dre Greenlaw or Aziz, because that's how close it was in training camp. So,
yeah. I think she said, Ben Garland and Western Richburg.
Ben Garland was the other one, yeah.
But yeah, also I think that Aziz and Fred play, like Fred and I love the way Fred and Greenlaw play, together as well. But I just think Aziz fills in that spot there better. But like you said, that's a preference.
It's a preference. And it's not, and so what I'm saying is I'm not. So if it was come down to trading one, if they traded Aziz and keep Dre, I'm cool with that too. Like, I'm not going to be mad at whoever they keep. All I'm saying is when you look at a standpoint, I feel like Aziz just has a little bit better ability, even though he's not the coverage guy like Dre Greenlaw. But I feel like that's something that can be worked on. because I feel like he's fast. He's silent on the sideline. He doesn't miss tackle. Even though he had a horrible game against Arizona, but it's due. Like everybody's gonna have a bad game,
Yeah.
but it's like he's silent on the sideline. I mean, when he gets close to the tackler, like he cracks fools. Like he lays that helmet where like when I was watching the Rams game and I saw Aziz after he laid that first hit on Darrell Henderson, like the receivers going over the middle, like the tight end Higbee and stuff, were scared to catch the ball. They were alligator arm and stuff like, oh, I don't know if I want that because they
Yeah.
saw it seriously because they were like, oh, I don't know if I want that. But yeah, so yeah, it's not a knock on any one of them. I think they're both good linebackers. I don't think any of them are great yet. Like they're both good linebackers. So I don't think that you should pay one more than you pay the other. And I think they both deserve a payday. So and it's all about a business. So that's all.
Yeah, we haven't really seen, Aziz hasn't, got the playing time that Greenlaw has gotten, so it's like he's hopefully continues to get better with, being in there and starting and getting the playing time and the reps. And, I think that we've seen him continue to get better this season. And like you said, he did have that one bad game, but again, that the players on the other side of the ball get paid as well. So
Yeah,
nobody
you're
can
right.
just have all perfect.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's all we have. If you have any closing thoughts, anything?
No, I mean his team is on a nice win streak, and I honestly can say I would be excited to buy one of our subscribers, a hat and T-shirt of their choice because that means we're going into the playoffs. We get into the playoffs, anything can happen. It's just one game at a time at that point, and whoever comes out and executes that day is going to win. I mean, it's sometimes the best team doesn't win in the playoffs.
Yeah.
We've seen that stuff. I mean, even though Tampa Bay won, the Redskins were on their heels and were a couple plays away from beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So anything can happen. Like we mentioned it with the Giants getting in at 9-7. I mean, we got the Seahawks that year that went in 7-9 in our
Yeah.
division, and they played the Saints at home when the Saints were like 12-4, and Marshawn Lynch he ran all over them. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
anything. You remember that game? Yeah. So
Yep.
anything can happen. So yeah, I mean, I just hope we continue it. I hope Kyle stays in his bag. I hope, and I'm not knocking him, but he just needs to not put the ball in Jimmy's hands early. He just needs to establish a run game and try to see what goes on then. And then, like I said, unless the game gets out of hand, I don't see Kyle going away from the run. Like if it's like a field goal game, either way, he's going to continue that run whether we're being stopped or not. So
Yep. I hope so.
yeah,
Because, like that's, I think most people that I heard, last week when they're coming out there and putting the ball in Jimmy's hands, it's like the run's been working. Why are you going away from the run, Kyle? Like, come on. And so, to come out and see him do something different this week would be kind of a head scratcher as well. And like we've continued to say, Kyle's been in his bag, and we've seen the Kyle Shanahan that we've all known to be our head coach. The beginning of the season was a little odd, but it seems like he's getting back in a rhythm and staying true to who he is. I still don't know that 40 runs a game is going to be sustainable for, that long. But I guess we'll see what happens. We'll see, Melissa, what he thinks about this.
sorry, I had to get my dog to go out and use the restroom real quick.
Oh, no problem. I was
Yeah,
just saying
Teran.
that I would think that, he's going to come out and try to run the ball again, but I still don't think that running the ball 40 times a week is going to be sustainable for very long.
Yeah. There's gonna be some point where like the game I really think we're gonna have to score is Cincinnati. Like Cincinnati is just on a tear right now. What's up, JV? Cincinnati's on a tear right now, and they've scored. I mean, we scored a lot of points too, but we've had. I think they said Cincinnati has scored like almost 100 points in 3 games. So they're
Yeah,
they're
they look
balling.
good.
They like their defense is balling. Like after they had that, I forgot who they lost to somebody who wasn't that good. But after they had that game, they've been playing excellent football. Joe Mixon's running the ball well. Joe Burrow was he's slinging that thing around. They have 3 good receivers with
Yeah.
Chase, T Higgins, and Tyler Boyd. So they have So it's that game. I think we really are not going to be able to run the football. We're going to have to score because they're going to score on us.
Yeah.
So yeah, what was more shocking, becoming the 7th seed or 6th seed? I mean, I don't know. I mean, we were 7th, and then once we beat the Vikings, we went to the 6th. So that was one of those things where it was like we were going to either go to 6 or fall out of the playoff hunt in general, right? Like we were going to be the 7th seed, I think, if we lost that game. So yeah, I think I don't think we get anything higher than that. I could be wrong. Depends on how the Rams. I don't think the Rams are going to keep the play that they have. I think they're gonna get back in sync and get it together. But yeah, I think we go in with the 6th seed. But what I will say is, if we do make the playoffs, I would like to play either at Dallas or Green Bay. Sorry, I'd rather play at Green Bay before I played at Dallas or at Tampa Bay, because I feel like those teams have powered offenses when it's time to move, and I just don't see us coming back from games like that. Because Dallas, when they're on, they're on. Tampa Bay, when they're on, they're on. Like the Packers are kind of hit and miss because really their only offensive threat is Devontae Adams, so they kind of win games ugly sometimes. That don't score as many points, but yeah, if we go into Green Bay, then I feel like we'd have a chance. So
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about us playing in Green Bay in the cold and
yeah,
all that shit because our
yeah,
team, they don't even want to practice with wet footballs when they're getting ready for rain games. So who
yeah,
knows how they'll prepare for snow games?
yeah. Because I feel like Tampa Bay is built to stop our team. They're like number one against the run. You got Tom Brady back there, high-powered offense. Like who's going to stop Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, and Chris Godwin? You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
Gronk. And Gronk. So I just don't like that matchup. It's all about matchups when it comes to the playoffs. So
Yeah. I mean, for me, I'm shocked altogether that we're in the playoffs, after the way we started the
in the
season,
hunt, yeah, yeah,
and after, 3 weeks, things change so fast.
yeah. So
But,
yes,
at the same time, there's still 3 weeks for the Seahawks to change their season. There's still, those 3 weeks for other
yeah.
teams to change. So there's still a lot of football left. So,
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
if you look at it too, I mean, the Eagles played a bad game and lost against the Giants. But again, everybody looked at that game and said, I can't believe the Eagles lost. It's a division game. So that's
yeah.
why you can never be comfortable. But yeah, like the Eagles are only one game behind us. Like the Redskins, all of a sudden, sorry if I offended anybody, the Washington football team has won 3 games in a row too. So we can't sit back and get too comfortable.
Yeah. I mean, because the Washington football team has a great defense. We all went into the season, anybody that follows them thinking that they're going to have a great defense. And obviously their quarterback situation was a little weird. But I mean, they're getting out of Heineke what they need to get from him. He's a game manager. He's not making mistakes. He's going in there and doing what they need to, to win. So yeah, they're playing. They're starting to look better. Like you said, the Rams. It's crazy. I'm not. It's strange what's going on there.
Yeah.
But I'm really curious to see, how the rest of their season's going to turn out. Like if
Yeah.
they're going to end up turning this thing around or continue to, who knows what the
Yeah.
hell.
Well, this Sunday is a team that they should destroy and get some confidence back because they're playing at home against Jacksonville.
Yeah.
So they should go out there and probably route them and be like, okay, cool. Like, get back in some kind of a groove. So, yeah.
It's crazy how you mentioned that the Seahawks had got into the playoffs with that record that season, and
7-9, yeah.
like how shitty our freaking division was, like, and now compared to what it is now, I don't know if still, but I know for a big majority of the season has been the top division in football, so
Yeah. And it was terrible too, because it's like, how the playoff thing is, like if you win your division, you get the home field. So like even though they were 7-9, you had the Saints that I think they were like I want to say like maybe 11-5 or something. I don't know, but they had a decent record. I think Atlanta had won that year, or maybe I think it was Atlanta had won that year and they had a higher seed. But so the Saints with an 11-5 record got in as a wild card with
yeah.
that many wins. And then so everybody was like, oh, they're gonna kill the Seahawks, and then they went into Seattle and got mashed. So
And that's the problem, right? You don't want to have to go into Seattle, so
yeah. Yeah.
And Kittle even spoke about that today, that, and we've heard that for years now, that that stadium is so loud, but he
Mhm.
said that that's his favorite place to play because you can feel the fans hate, and the that it's just so loud, that he said that even last time when he got hurt there, that he could hear it from hear the fans from back there, the boos and the cheers and everything, from not even being out on the field. That's how loud it is
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
So that makes a huge difference.
absolutely. I think
If
Seattle. I think they broke the sound record, like the decimals of how
Yeah.
loud the stadium gets, because I think it gets to the point where like that stadium starts to shake, like it rattles. It gets so loud, so it's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy. And if you have a quarterback going in there that's, not a Aaron Rodgers or a Tom Brady,
Yeah.
that's one of these, first year, or, quarterbacks that haven't been in those type of situations or whatever, that gets to them, having to
Hmm.
go on silent count, and they can't hear what calls are being called, to them in their headsets and all that. They're not getting their calls out, and that's when you start having false starts and all that shit,
Yep.
that comes into play there. That's a
Absolutely.
huge advantage that they have there. So that's
Yeah.
that's why I don't take going into there lightly. I
Not at
hate
all.
playing them whatsoever, even when they come to our house, but even
Yeah.
more so when we have to go in there.
Agreed.
But yeah, I mean that's all I have.
Okay. Cool.
Pretty much.
Any more questions from the chat, or is everything was we pretty
Let's
much answered?
mm, yeah, I think that's
That's
it.
pretty much it. So that's who the Bengals lost. They lost to the Jets, and I couldn't
Oh
believe
yeah.
that. I'm like, what the heck? But yeah, like you just never know. Like you said, the other people on every team get paid too. So they're all professionals for a reason. So every dog's gonna have its day.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes football, that's why I love football so much. Like even us, we went into the season thinking we're gonna have this great team and, blow everybody away and whatever, but it's like you never know what's gonna happen. Like Tampa Bay, they got their entire team back. They're not playing, like how they were
No,
last year and all. Kansas City, like look how they're playing. The
yeah,
Bills, it's like you never know what's gonna
yeah,
happen from season to season, and
absolutely.
even from week to week, what's gonna happen.
Well,
So
then, yeah, you look at Arizona. Even though they're like what 9-2 or whatever the case may be, even though they lost 2 games, they haven't really been a consistent team. Like I would say the two teams that have been probably the most consistent every week in week out are probably the Patriots and the Packers.
yeah.
Yeah,
And that's without Aaron Rodgers, a week,
yeah.
and he's
Hmm.
hurt and
And
whatever
yeah,
other
and the
crazy
Patriots
stuff
were
they have
winning
going on.
kind of Patriots were winning kind of ugly at first, but their defense has just turned into a nightmare. Like they're stopping everybody. So it's like it's crazy. So
Yeah, and their running game, there is working, and um what's his face? Mac, what's his name? Yeah, Mac.
Mac Jones,
Yeah, he's not, he's managing the game. He's not
yep,
turning the ball over. He's doing
not at
what's
all.
asked of him. I think like he's a perfect quarterback for the Patriots. He's going to
Absolutely.
listen to what they say. He's going to buy into, everything they're selling, and he's going to go out there and, you know, do what
Somebody
needs to be done
somebody
as long
that
as everything's good around him.
yeah, what's his name? Somebody that Josh McDaniels can go in there and actually mold and just be
Yeah.
like, this is the place. Just go ahead and manage the game. I want you to, these plays are going to be there. And he's not doing that much either. He's just asking he's asking, to do stuff like on third downs and stuff like that too. It's like, it's crazy.
Yep. So yeah. You all have a great weekend. I appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Whoever is this on replay, we appreciate you watching.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll see
Yeah.
you guys next week.
And before you go, JV, all I got to say is go blue.
With that, there we go. Have a good weekend, everybody.